What is up everyone, and welcome to part 2 of this new series. And in today's video, we'll be looking at one thing. Is Leon really human? Our main evidence is he can survive a hand grenade to the face and get right back up and keep shooting, because a hand grenade is just a scratch. So you might be asking, what does this mean? He's a strong human, but this is where I think something else. So for you to understand this, let's start by talking about Umbrella Corp. So we know they did experiments like making the T virus, the one that takes over the world. But what we don't know is what other experiments they were making, other than super vague stuff. So what if Leon was one of Umbrella Corp's early experiments, trying to make a new human like Captain America, but he's stolen before they can replicate him, and so Leon's parents are not really his parents. And when the T virus gets loose, what if the government jumped at the opportunity to get a super soldier? And on to part 2 of this video. So Leon never finds out that he is a superhuman, but he can run a lot faster and he can survive a lot more than a human should. So let's see. So what if the T virus was made to try and make normal people like Leon, but it failed, and when the virus got up, they gave up and made the first aid spray to heal normal people fast. But then they made a breakthrough, but went under right before they could make a Leon 2.0. But Leon can still die, so he's not invincible, but he can survive a rocket blaster right to his face, when most people would no longer have a face. So what if all the training was not to train him, but to test his limits so they could see if he could die? So they found out he can die. So then they also found out his strengths and weaknesses, and then Resident Evil 4 happens, and maybe the T-Virus can slowly make him normal. But why do I think that? Well, he can survive a rocket blaster, but with one cult leader he can no longer move. And now, we're on to part 3. And with him being so close to almost losing to the virus, what if he got shot? And then he would have probably died in that scenario, with our logic. But when he loses the virus, I think he would still stay a little weaker, but then he will still keep going on missions, and they will keep trying to make a new superhuman. And if he dies, they'll make a clone. But he's weaker and does not know he's a clone. But you may ask, why would they do all of this? I say that the government's really Umbrella Corps. On to part 4. Umbrella Corps is really the government. Why? Because of what we saw of Umbrella Corps in the first movie, which is canon. They had weapons, so that's one thing. But part 2 is why Leon was made. So what if they started to make a super soldier, but it could still die? But it was still a worthy experiment to get them funding by the government. So they made Leon, who was not birthed but made in a lab, so they could make only superhumans, but not normal human super. But that was good for the military, and then they started the corporation. Part 3 of this whole thing. Who are Leon's Part 5. Who are Leon's parents? So I might not know their real names, or I could. I'll look it up after. And if we do know their real names, it's on screen now. But anyway, let's talk about their backgrounds. I think one of the parents were the first employees at Umbrella Corps, and they saw Leon and thought it was unethical, and they stole him and raised him on their own. And maybe one day we will know more stuff about Leon's parents. But according to comics, they got killed by an assassin, but I don't think that's true. I think they got killed by the government for kidnapping Leon and covered it up with the crime stuff, which we know a little bit about, but the government might say that they were murdered to get writers off their backs, because we all know writers never give up, which is a good thing. I'm not bashing on writers, but anyway. But what if there's a new super soldier that hasn't been kidnapped? Well, now, that's great. Now on to the last part. Leon finds out he's a super soldier, which I know sounds like Captain America, but I'm sticking to it because that's the only other thing I know to call him. So right after Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, he dies because he finds out he's a clone that was a super soldier, but he still like a super soldier. And I think Leon dies in Resident Evil 5 because then he is a clone and he's put back like he never left. And then they kill the clone and make a new clone if he ever finds out he's a clone. And then it's just an endless cycle, which means there's infinite. I'm joking. But they probably would. But without those memories now of him finding out he's a clone. But I think that's it for this video. Part 3 of this new series will be out next week, and we will talk about why the bodies slash zombies slash infected, whatever you want to call them, in Resident Evil 4 dissolve. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great day or night, depending if you're watching this at 3 a.m., not going to bed.